Well, that groove got me in a good mood. The nice little intro we had going on there. But I'm also in a good mood because Orange County Soccer Club had a good weekend in a cup match. They made us all sound horrible because we were all bashing the cup lifestyle of this club, and they actually go and win with youth. Hey, we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about the upcoming match as well, which is a wonky midweek traveling to the East Coast match. Let's get this party started. Welcome to the Show of Champions. This is the Orange and Black Soccer Cast. How's it going, Orange County? Welcome to another episode of the Orange and Black Soccer Cast, the first and only show dedicated to Orange County Soccer Club, its fans, and supporters. I'm your host, Ray Samora. I'm here to take you through this journey as we discuss all things Orange County Soccer Club. We've got our full panel here tonight. First and foremost, let's bring on Dylan. Dylan, how are we doing? Missed you last week. How are you feeling? We didn't get to talk to you about the negativity of the Cup for Orange County, but they won. So how are you feeling?
They won. I'm proud of them. It was 20 years ago that Alan Hansen said you'll never win anything with kids. And I think as a fellow Scot, maybe Neil Collins felt like that was there was a lot of accuracy in that. But unfortunately, Neil Collins is once again... He has to hate us by this point, I think. He must absolutely despise Orange County. But hey, it's forward momentum. Last time I was here, we talked to Danny Stone, and he said, hey, the performances have been getting better, even if the results necessarily hadn't. And now the results are getting better too. So plenty to look forward to.
Yeah, definitely a lot to look forward to. And I was very big on we needed to keep the momentum going. I know some of my co-hosts and even some of the fans were talking about rotate the side. We're sort of eliminated from this. Who cares? But we got to keep the winning going. Right, Brad?
Yeah, I won't have as long of a soliloquy as Dylan did, but play the kids. It works.
Play the kids. It works. And the goal scorer from this past weekend resides currently in Aliso Viejo, which is my neck of the woods. So the pride of Aliso Viejo winning the game for Orange County. Larry, I don't believe was there. I was there and Larry wasn't. It seems like he was avoiding me for some reason. But Larry, your thoughts on this match from afar?
I wasn't that far. I was just on my couch, watching. I thought the team played a really nice game. I mean, we've got back-to-back clean sheets. Haven't had that in God knows how long. 17-year-olds scoring winning goals. But you know what? Hey, as much as I love that goal from Pedro, at some point tonight, we're going to talk about that pass from Ethan Zubak to just drop it right there for him to go ahead and score that goal. But it was a nice win. Proved all of us wrong, especially me, because I said if we go out and we play our strongest 18, we're going to have a 3-1 win. That didn't happen. I said if we go out and we play a bunch of kids, we're going to have a 2-1 loss, and that didn't happen. And I love when people prove me wrong.
Well, you know what I love, and Dylan's going to be excited about it, is Brad's prediction last week. It worked, and he's going to have to keep that up now and keep doing that prediction. Dylan's favorite prediction of all predictions. You up for that challenge, Brad? You going to do it?
I do what I feel like when I feel like it, and I will not let Ray tell me otherwise, no matter what he thinks of himself on this show.
All right. I guess that's the answer there. Take that, Ray, for trying to get the momentum going for this team and trying to use what worked this past weekend to continue. Brad's like, nope, I don't care. I'm going to do it my way, even if it means we lose. So let's get into the conversation of this past match, this past weekend at home in the Jagermesiter Cup, Brad's favorite cup. Orange County in the late stages gets a 1-0 victory over Sacramento. Unfortunately, a little bit too late on this, I believe they're eliminated, or if not, they're pretty much eliminated. I haven't looked at the standings on this. Dylan, have you looked at the standings or the way the Jagermesiter Cup is lining up, or Brad or whoever has? I don't care.
we are not mathematically eliminated yet, but it's right there.
It's one of those writing on the wall things. You pretty much know what's going to happen. We're just not there yet.
The two USL, the two League One teams have got to beat two pretty damn good championship side teams and have to beat them fairly significantly. And then we still have to beat Oakland to pretty significantly in order to move forward. So path forward, yeah, very slim, extremely slim.
So I will ask this question then, and then we'll get into the analysis, because I brought a pretty nice sized group to the match, and a lot of the parents and the kids were hoping, when I told them if this match ends in a tie in regulation, it goes to PKs. Would it have been more exciting to go into PKs and see what can happen, and maybe give Shuttler a chance to work the PKs? Dylan's giving me the nasty look here. Dylan, go for it.
Why would you want that?
For the excitement. I don't know.
This
is just
okay.
I do want to clarify as well. The rule set of the tournament says that if a game goes to PKs, then the winning team of the PK gets 2 points instead of 3, and the losing team gets 1. So we would have been definitely mathematically eliminated either way, should it have gone.
And now we're just sitting here waiting. Now we're just sitting here waiting to be eliminated. Let's talk about this match. Dylan, your thoughts on Orange County's late victory over Sacramento? It looked like Sacramento was playing a more typical lineup for them, and Orange County was playing a younger lineup to go. Is this a quality and an important win for Orange County at this point?
I think it is, because every victory, regardless of what competition it is in, is just a step in the right direction. I didn't get to watch this one live. I was a little preoccupied, so to say, but I did get to talk a lot of trash once I saw the end result. So that was well worth it, at least, and it was worth it on the rewatch. This was a golden opportunity for Orange County to just play a bunch of kids and see what they can do, and give them the bulk of the minutes. And I'm happy with how it turned out. I don't think it was the perfect performance. I felt like it was a little shaky at times. I think that's to be expected, but it's a step in the right direction. And I think, whether you made your professional debut on Saturday night, or whether you're a Lion McKinnon, you have plenty to take from this match, or an Ethan Zubak or a Pedro Guimaraes. You've plenty to take from this match, and hopefully some confidence is building for the entire group moving forward.
And let's state it here. It wasn't like it was a fully rotated side with a bunch of young players. There were still quality players that started this match. I believe Tom Brewitt was out there, Nico Benalcazar was out there, a few others. So it's not like we just threw all the youngsters out there and we got this victory, but it was a mesh. It was a rotated side with a lot of the youth out there. I believe Pedro played the full 90 minutes, or if not, played most of it up until the point he scored. I didn't really pay much attention after he scored. I was too busy having fun and being excited about the goal to pay attention on that. But before I get to Brad, most important question for you, Dylan. Did you strut around the streets of Sacramento on Sunday with your OCSC gear on?
I was wearing my Orange County hat on Saturday night, and running my mouth at some people around me in some Sacramento Republic stuff. So, no one's perfect, but
there we go.
When have I ever claimed to be anyway?
And for those that are unaware, Dylan does currently reside up in the Sacramento area. That's the reason I asked that question. Brad, who resides in the state of Nevada, let me ask you this as a person that is not local as well. What were your thoughts on this match?
I was actually quite impressed with the team defensively. Offensively, definitely created some great opportunities. Pedro's goal was absolutely phenomenal. Cannot complain about that. But, start off the show, the kids are all right. They played a pretty good game, in my opinion, especially against an opponent that really threw things a lot in the way. Beyond that, Bryce Jamison needs to make that goal that he had in the first half. That's almost inexcusable, in my opinion. But the result's still a win in the books. Can't complain too much, especially from a tournament where I keep saying I do not care about.
That is always the fun part, and I love how you're mentioning the defense was great, and I think DK was on the chats at the same time talking about the defense, which we haven't been able to say much this year. This now back-to-back shutouts, clean sheets for Orange County. And that was a big part of their success last season, right? Was stellar defense and getting timely goals. Larry, are you warming up? Or are you getting excited? You think this means our defense is figuring things out and we can expect more quality defensive performances? Or are you still waiting to see a few more matches before you get excited about the way the defense is playing?
I really liked how Vuk and Tom played in this game. I thought they were very solid back there in the middle. Pedro was terrific out on the left side, and I'm going to apologize. Say his last name, Ciota. Anybody? Nobody? Nobody's
We're
got
not
nothing.
sure, but could we
Anyway.
assume it's Italian? Do we want to get into this?
No, we're just going to say that the four of them back there, they played a really, really nice game. And Pedro and Ciota, we're going to go with that for now. And young man, if you're listening, message me, tell me how to say it the right way. They did a lot with helping move the ball forward. Obviously, Pedro's winning goal, Ciota getting man of the match. Is somebody in the thing said, is Ciota our right back answer? I don't know about that because he's really young and he's really untested. But, and of course, Gumardas, Dogman, which one are you going to take? Or do we leave Pedro back there on the back left and move Ryan up to the left mid? It's tough to say, but overall, I liked how the boys played. Hey, when a team with like producer Andy just said, Christian Pirano, when these guys can't get a shot off, Russell Cicerone, they only get one shot on goal the entire night. The defense is doing something right, and that's where the focus was Saturday night, and that's what we needed. So, shout out to that. And I'd like to ask you guys all a real quick trivia question. Can you name the two Orange County Soccer Club goalies to make their professional debut, get a clean sheet, and who it was against?
Well, both were against Sacramento. We all know that.
No,
so
pretty easy part right there.
Santana in that big match in front of 20,000 plus.
There you go.
And then this past weekend, which is what's his? I don't want to mess up his name, so I'm looking it up.
Tet. Just go with Tet.
Tet.
Yes.
I was actually you're bringing me to where I was going to go with Dylan on this next question. Right? Is Orange County sort of what we've seen, and it's perfect, Larry, because I was going to mention last time we sort of started a goalie in their first start, happened to be against Sacramento. The defense was above and beyond spectacular in that match to try and make things easier for the young goalkeeper, and it seems like the defense did that with youngsters in the defense. So do we have to give props to players like Vuk and Tom Brewitt for being the leaders back there in the defense and really organizing the young players and making sure Tet didn't have to, do too much to make it a clean sheet for the team? Do you give any credit to those two like Larry did?
I think it goes both ways. But ultimately I think it is up to, and I recognize that the captain's standing right in front, but I think it's up to the goalkeeper to organize his defense. He did well. It's not like he's a stranger to playing with this team. He's been around all season long. It's expected. He just proved that he is in fact, good enough and quite a good.
He's capable
at that. Yeah, which is nice. Like he probably deserves that because we've heard nothing but good things about him, and we've heard nothing but hey, he works hard and he's there. There's only one goalkeeper, so it makes it really difficult, but he earned his chance, and it's nice he finally got it.
Brad, let's talk about the goal and whatever led up to the goal. Were you impressed by what we saw, or do you blame some of the poor defending by Sacramento? What are your thoughts on that goal from Pedro to win the match? Woohoo, he did it.
Nice.
Once a show.
Really good passing that led up to the goal from the team. Cannot complain in the slightest about it. And sure, you can argue that there was a defensive lapse from Sacramento there, but don't take away from the players there. It was an absolutely good goal.
Yeah, I feel like the goalie for Sacramento anticipated the defender was going to stop it. The defender decided to just let Pedro make him, and the goalie's just sitting there flat-footed. I don't know. Maybe I didn't see it correctly from Section 9 at Championship Soccer Stadium. Larry, your thoughts on that whole lead up to the goal and the goal itself for Pedro?
Ciota, unbelievable pass, getting it up there. And then Zubak, and I was yelling at my TV as I often do. And, I lower my blood pressure when I do that and I get lightheaded. But I'm yelling at my TV because I could see Zubak on the ball and you could just see Pedro just starting to drift up into that forward spot. And Ethan picked his head up and saw him and just dropped a dime on him. And it was beautiful. And the finish, just so clinical. Just, are we sure that this kid is a right back or left back and not a goal scorer? Because both of his goals that he scored have been pretty damn impressive goals. Some nice moves there to finish. Little crossover, fake with the left, go to the right foot, and just doesn't blast it, doesn't overdo it. Just put the ball in the back of the net. What more can you ask for?
I love how Larry's like in sync with my mind because he's leading me right into some of the things I want to talk about. We're talking about Pedro here scoring his goal. Both of his goals have been really up in the attacking. It's very modern day soccer / football, whatever part of the world you're from, is the wingbacks making it up the pitch. And we've seen that a lot from Ryan Dogman. We've seen that from a few other players. Owen Lamb in the past has done that quite well for Orange County. I know, again, I brought the group. There were some people that were asking, like, is he a defender? I thought he was a defender. How did he score the goal? That's modern soccer. For those that don't maybe watch the modern game, is those wingbacks are getting up high up the pitch, getting into the box and taking attempts on goal, which is nice to see. And what I'll say for you, Larry, you're like, is he really a defender? You got to remember, he's 17. Most players that are playing at a high level at this point, when they're 17, 18, or even older, when they were younger and playing soccer in whether it was AYSO or youth club, what position more likely were they playing? They were probably the goal scorer. Yeah, they were the best player in the team. They were scoring every goal for their team because they were legit the best player out there. He's still young enough to have recently done that. So he has that really familiarity in him to score goals still, which we're seeing. And hopefully he keeps that going. Let's talk about it because we're looking at
12 in 2021. Let's keep that in mind. He was 12 in 2021.
Yes, very young still. I'm looking at the replay, so it reminds me of one last thing I want to talk about. That was the debut of newcomer to Orange County, Mr. Kelly. I apologize. I had it up in front of me and then I brought it down. Stephen Kelly. That's what I was guessing, but I didn't want to get it wrong. Thank you, Dylan. What are your thoughts? A very minute debut for him. Didn't get the start, but came out off the bench. What are your thoughts? And how is it going to benefit Orange County with having someone like Stephen Kelly on this roster, potentially coming off the bench or maybe even getting starts in the future? Dylan.
Yeah, I know he was likened to a Kyle Scott figure. I think he is a little bit more. I think he's better off a little bit further forward. Kyle Scott's obviously, excels at playing really deep and is able to ping a pass pretty much everywhere. And what that does for Orange County, I think, is allows Chris Hagar a little bit more variability in where he can be used. We saw 30 minutes of him. He got the ball into the final third more than anybody else, I think. There's plenty to look forward to if this continues. And there's no reason to think this won't continue. We need depth pieces, and Kyle Scott has been playing a lot this season. So now we won't have much of a drop-off if he needs to sit out a week or, as he's prone to do, might serve a suspension.
Might?
Yeah.
Might.
It's a when and not if, but
can we drop some odds on that?
Oh, those would be poor. If you're taking that bet, Larry, that'd be poor to do. And we're watching the replay. It wasn't a meg on that goal. I apologize for getting it wrong, but I saw it from Section 9. I didn't have a great angle for it. I didn't watch the replay. Well, Orange County now is riding a 2-match winning streak. 2-match clean sheet streak. Try and say that 5 times fast. And now they're heading on a very tough midweek, I guess we can call it a midweek match on the East Coast. This in just a couple days, right? To keep the momentum going. And that's a match out. I believe it's in Loudoun, or against Loudoun United. Brad, I'll go to you. How unlucky is it that the team has this type of midweek East Coast road match when they're trying to build momentum and they've had 2 great matches? Or I guess you can also disagree with me and think that this is actually perfect timing to do it.
I actually am going to disagree with you and think that this was almost perfect timing to do it. Two reasons. One, unfortunately or fortunately, most of the team's rested. We played the kids. Playing the kids means players like Colin Shuttler, Kevin Partita, all got good rest over the last week, so they should be good to go, regardless of the fact that we played a game on Saturday. Also, it's Loudon. Sure, the travel sucks, but we've already traveled to like North Carolina this year. We're gonna do more traveling. It's part of the job. And it's a 4 o'clock game, so it's not like the team's going to be super tired like last year or last time we were in Loudon and we played like a what noon kickoff or whatever, unless I'm remembering a different game. So yeah, I really don't think the travel early week play is really going to affect us as much as we think.
I love how Brad brings up in his positivity. We already traveled to North Carolina. We remember how that worked out well for Orange County, correct? So maybe not a great argument to make on like, I don't think it's a big problem. We've already done this. We went to North Carolina. Let's not even talk about what the result was or how that went. Larry, I'm going to ask you this question, then you can give your thoughts on overall on this timing of this match. Last time we saw a young goalkeeper have a really stellar performance for Orange County, Fury, last season made his debut. I forget, maybe against San Antonio. Had a great performance, was rewarded with a second match, a second start. Do you think that's going to be the same here, or do you anticipate Colin Shuttler returning between the sticks for this match?
Well, Brad said that Colin is rested up, and my question there would be, do goalies really need to rest? Do they do that much? I'm not really so sure, but that's beside the point. No,
Larry,
I do.
Hold on. I'm going to stop you right there, Larry. You're going to get a lot of hate from people that have played goalkeeper, that play goalkeeper, because I'm going to tell you, here's what I'm going to ask you to do, Larry. For 90 minutes tomorrow, I want you to dive to the ground, jump back up, dive to the ground, jump back up, and then stand there for 10 minutes. And then have to dive back down, jump back up, dive back down, jump back up, stand for 10 minutes. See how your body feels after that 90-minute workout.
You know what? I honestly, and I hate to do this, Andy, but it's about to happen. I squat down for 2 to 4 hours a day, several times a week, and let guys throw baseballs at my face at 55 years old, and I can still walk the next day. So I think I can, for 90 minutes, I think I can dive to the ground every 2 to 3 minutes and get back up.
We need the video proof of your squatting, and squatting is not the same as the diving to the ground like that. Producer Andy is magically appearing.
Yeah, I got you, Andy. I see what you're doing there. Go ahead.
Is that some kind of euphemism for something?
No, that's what an umpire does when he gets into the slot. Okay.
Man,
So
I was gonna save this for random thoughts, but after Andy just jumped in like that, we really do need to institute some sort of game. Anytime Larry talks about baseball or playing umpire, and
A
Ray
bingo
talks
sheet.
about being a coach or his kid's soccer team or Tottenham, we should just have like a little unsponsored Malort drink.
okay, then,
Brad
then we
is
gotta
so
throw Wendy into the
determined.
mix. We got to throw Wendy into the mix.
Brad is so determined to get Malort involved on this show. He keeps mentioning it. Last week, he tried to say they were our official sponsor, even though there is no official sponsorship with Malort, by the way. I tried to remind him it's unofficial. But yeah, or maybe that was 2 weeks ago. I don't remember.
Ignore that lawsuit that Malort is dropping on us just about.
Larry, well, I mean, we're giving them free advertising. I don't think they're going to sue us over this. They're not paying us for this. Larry, continue your thoughts.
Back to the question. No, Shuttler's back between the pipes on Thursday. I don't doubt for a moment that he will be back. Ted did a great job. He had an unbelievable save. They had the one shot on target. He stopped it. It was a fantastic save, impressive save. But you go with what you know. And Colin is our guy. He's having a rough year a little bit, but he's been our guy for 4 seasons now? Is this season number 4? I've lost track. So, yeah, Colin's back between the pipes. And what was the rest of the question, Ray?
I don't remember now because it was so long ago. I think it was about Brad's using the trip to North Carolina as his confidence that Orange County isn't going to have a problem with this match.
Oh, yeah. North Carolina didn't go well for us.
Yes. Dylan, let me ask you overall thoughts on this upcoming match. Are you a fan, or I guess no one's probably a fan of a Thursday night match for a USL match, but do you have any concerns with the quick turnaround for the team having to go out to the East Coast and try and keep the momentum going? Is there any concern from you on that?
Yeah, players have said in the past the worst part about playing in the U.S. is the travel, whether that be MLS, USL, especially the coast-to-coast travel. So unless we were out there today getting adjusted to what Virginia feels like in July and the time, it's going to suck for them. So I have a lot of sympathy for our players this week. I don't love it. I don't love that we're playing in Virginia. I don't love that we're playing on this turf field in Virginia. I don't love you, Loudoun County. I'm sorry. The county, I know the team's not called Loudoun County. Whatever. Anyway, but, it'll be nice to see Tommy McCabe, whose nickname we can't say on the show, unfortunately. But, it's fine. We are becoming a better team overall, and at some point we'll have to beat a team from the East Coast if we really want this year to be considered a grand success. So why not get a little bit of practice here in July, even if it's probably not going to be Loudoun in the final come November?
I love it, and this would probably be great for our, what did I learn? But I feel like I'm just going to call out here. We're going to get some hate messages from goalkeepers and from people that live in Loudoun County, Virginia, because we've got some hate going on here from both Larry and Dylan. Brad, you were confident in what would happen with this upcoming match. What does Orange County need to do to keep the momentum going and hopefully get a win and full 3 points on Thursday?
Yeah, I got to come into this matchup and shake off whatever rust is there for the starters who had the week off last week. Can't be playing like a team that's had 11 days off. Got to work on playing, just like we did against El Paso a couple weeks ago.
All right, let's get into some score predictions here. I'll let Larry go first. Larry, your prediction for the score against Loudoun this weekend. Or not this weekend, this Thursday.
This Thursday. Before I say that, let me say I think one of the keys to the game is going to be shutting down, and I will destroy his name. Abakura. The guy's got 11 goals in 14 games. The defense has absolutely got to lock him up. Tom and Vuk have got to shut down that middle and don't give him the opportunity to shoot. Just stay in his back pocket the entire time. Having said that, prediction 1-1.
Dylan.
Oh man. I'm gonna say 1-0 Orange County.
All right, let's see how much Brad wants to impact and affect the result here for Orange County. What is your score prediction, Brad?
Man, you really are gonna be trying to make fetch happen here. So I'll give it to you, 5-0, Loudoun.
And my prediction for this match, I'm going to go 2-0 Orange County. They're going to get 3 clean sheets in a row this weekend. And I don't have to do the 5-0 because I didn't do it last week. I didn't do it the week before. Brad is the one that's building that momentum there. So we got to keep that going. Let's continue talking about Orange County. We've got a guest joining us back on the show. We've had him on a few times, and it's always fun to learn about some of the off-the-field stuff from an expert or for someone that does this for a living and runs the club. That's Pete Nugent, who is your general manager, president of soccer operations for Orange County Soccer Club. Pete, welcome back on the show.
Thank you for having me. Excited to be here. Thanks, guys.
We are excited to have Pete or have you on the show, Pete. Let me ask you this. As the person that sort of builds this team and that has looked at these players, have scouted players, maybe we don't get to see as much of them on the pitch because they're not higher on the pecking order. What is a match like this past weekend where you get to see some of those younger players or some of those players like Tet that hasn't gotten on the pitch much for the team? What is it like for you to sort of see that on the pitch and see what the possibilities are for Orange County?
Yeah, I think, we're fortunate that the fact that we get to see them day in, day out at training. So, it doesn't come as a huge surprise to us when we put them into the team and they do well and we fortunately get a result because we see what they produce day in, day out. And so I think, for us, we get to see it on a regular basis. Obviously, you never quite know how it goes when you insert them into a full game. But I think ultimately it was a really proud evening for everybody involved. We had the youngest lineup we'd ever put out in club history. So it was a proud moment to give some of those young players opportunities in the team. But they've fully earned those opportunities. We've been doing really well in the Academy League. We're top of the Academy League at the moment. So it was great to see them finally make some of their full debuts. And I thought they handled themselves really well. And obviously Tech coming in and getting a clean sheet. He's been working hard day in, day out. Capped it off with a great save at the end to keep it 0-0, and then for Pedro to go on and win the game in front of the home fans, it was a fantastic moment. I think those are the kind of nights that keep everyone coming back. So it was exciting to see some of those young guys make their debuts and ultimately get 3 points in the Jagermesiter Cup. It was a great night overall. Yeah.
And we were talking earlier about the youth, but we also mentioned that it wasn't a full rotation. There were still some of the key players for this team, like Tom Brewitt, Nico Benal, Kazar, Vuk was back there. So you had some leadership, some veteran presence out there. What did you see from those players to help the youth players succeed, or at least be able to get the victory in this match and help the team get the result?
Yeah, I think, if you go back to kind of how we've built this organization and this club structure, we pride ourselves on youth development. We make no secrets about that. We're a development club. We want to give young players opportunities, but in order for those young players to succeed, they need to have senior leadership around them in order for them to learn and grow on the field. And when we go into recruiting, these senior players, we call them veteran players, your Tom Brewitts, your Kyle Scotts, Kevin Petitas, that's something that we're open with them when we're engaging in the recruitment process about, that we want to give young players opportunities and something that they need to be a part of and understand that we're going to give them a chance. And to be fair, all those senior players really embrace that challenge of helping be a leader for the young players and helping them coach on the field. So, when we spoke to the guys early in the week that, we were going to put out a few younger players and give them the debuts and give them a chance, the reaction from the senior players was absolutely fantastic. They were fully supportive of giving those players that chance in front of the home crowd. And they were helping them all week through training and helping them be prepared as best as possible for this Saturday. And then during the game, you can hear Tom, he's helping out Nicola at right back. It's great to see. So the senior players really have a really important role in the development of the young guys. And I thought every man, in the 11 did a fantastic job. Senior players, young players, all came together, and it was great to see it kind of all come together at the end and Nika win.
And it was a really nice win, Pete. We all really enjoyed it. I've got 3 questions, one of which you absolutely do not have to answer, and I'll ask that one somewhere in between the other 2. Question 1: we've struggled a little bit this year. We know that. These last 2 wins, these last 2 clean sheet wins, have been against 2 very good teams, El Paso and Sacramento. Do you feel like maybe the team has reached a turning point on this season?
Yeah, look, I think, overall, I think we've actually performed reasonably well throughout the season. I think in certain games, I feel we've maybe not got the results that we maybe deserved. You look at games at like North Carolina, Vegas away, even New Mexico in the first half. I think there's been games where we've needed to take our opportunities and we failed to do so, and we fell short. So I felt like we've always been pretty close to put some results together. So I didn't feel we were a million miles off, and I think we've seen that in the last couple of games. If we tighten up at the back a little bit, which we've been working hard on, really the margins were quite thin, and I think we've seen that in the last couple of games that there really isn't much between the teams, and it's really about taking your chances and ultimately giving up as few opportunities as possible. And I think we've managed to do that in the last few games, and I'm hopeful that we can continue that moving throughout the season, because I think we feel very confident with the players that we have and the coaching staff that we have. So, I wouldn't say it's a turning point, because I feel like we were on the right path, and we maybe just needed a few things to fall our way, and hopefully that continues. We've got a good schedule now to pick up some points, and that's what we'll be looking to do this weekend in Loudon.
Great. Question number 2: when San Diego buys Milan Olaski officially, how much money we getting? We getting a little cash there? No, that's the one you don't have to answer. We can ignore that one.
I mean, like I say, we're great. We're happy to see Milan doing as well as he is at San Diego. It doesn't surprise us that he's taken to MLS, like he did at USL level. We know his quality. It's great to see, and it's something that we fully expected to happen. So we'll see how that goes out. Maybe he's onto a big club in Europe. We'll see.
That wouldn't be a bad thing either. There has been all of the talk, and there's been the vote and promotion relegation. It looks like it's coming, and it looks like it's official. Give us your thoughts on that. How do you think that's going to affect Orange County Soccer Club as a whole, American soccer as a whole?
Yeah, I think you guys know I'm from the UK. It's promotion relegation is something that I've been born into, so it's something that I'm a big advocate of. For us, it definitely creates that sense of competition, and it means that there's no gimme games throughout the year. Every team's got something to play for, and for me, that will only improve the quality of play throughout the league. So it's something that I'm personally very excited about. There's lots of things that need to fall into place for it to ultimately all come together. But obviously, it's a long-term project. But it's something that I'm personally excited about. I think it's great for the club, it's great for the league, and it's great for the US soccer environment as a whole. And I think as a club, it's something that we fully embrace and look forward to taking part in all the conversations that go with it. And I think ultimately it'll be for the betterment of the club and the league. And ultimately, we're about giving young players chances and opportunities and moving them on to Europe. And for us, we want to prepare them the best we can to send them on their way to Europe. And there's no better preparations to feel the stress and drama of promotion relegation in your home country before they go over to Europe. So I think it will help the youth development on our side, and something that we're looking forward to, and hopefully it pushes the game forward in the US.
And given that my team just got promoted up to the Prem, I can't wait for this to happen in the US. And I think Dylan's got a couple questions for you. So Dylan, I'll give it over to you.
You just couldn't help yourself, Larry.
Hey.
Nobody cares about a club from the Northeast, my friend.
Well, Dylan,
Sunderland and baseball, baby. Let's go.
I'm just disappointed there's not going to be any more fun documentaries to watch on Netflix, and have the popcorn ready,
God, those hurt so much.
Dylan, really quick before you ask the question, just remind Larry the last time one of our teams got promoted to the Premier League, how that went.
It was excellent. I look forward to when we have some weird EDM version of any song that we're familiar with playing in the stadium. Whatever EDM version of County Roads starts going. I look forward to watching that happen.
I've been a big advocate of getting some more EDM in the stadium to increase the tempo before the match. So I'm all for that.
It's been, I think, just over 10 years now since you arrived with Orange County. I think to the month even. The league's obviously changed quite a bit. The club has changed both in name and primary color. Can you just speak for a minute on the changes that you've seen, and how you've changed in your responsibilities with the club in that time?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you're right. It's just come up to 10 years at the club. It seems to have flown by, and fortunately in that time I've become married and become a father. Met my wife at the club, so a lot to be thankful for Orange County. It's changed my life in many ways, not just on the field, but off the field. It's been a huge part of my personal life and led me to my wife. So a lot of things to be thankful for on that side. But it's been an incredible journey, really. If we go back to OC Blues playing at UCI on the concrete bleachers, obviously great to see that there's still some familiar faces who were there at the beginning, and they're still there in the county line singing the songs, which is great to see. But the transformation from where we were and the kind of crowds that we have has been incredible, and something that's been incredibly rewarding to be a part of, playing such an integral role of creating that pipeline for young players. If you'd asked me 10 years ago that we'd be selling players to Feyenoord and Stade de Reims, I probably wouldn't have believed you. So, to be able to move players to elite clubs in Europe in such a short space of time has been incredible. That's been a great thing for us to be able to continue that development and play a key role of getting young players into the youth national team. It's been something that's been really exciting for us to be a part of. And then, if I look at off the field, the one thing that I see, which is, really, really exciting to see, is the amount of fans and merchandise that people are representing, and taking pride of the club and the badge. Now if you take a walk around on Saturday night, majority of the fans in attendance are decked out in OCSC branded gear, which is just a sign of how far we've come, that people are proud and excited to represent the badge and the club. And, for me, that's something that I take a lot of pride in. And then ultimately seeing young players on the field like we did on Saturday, OC natives as well, kids who've grown up in the area, are now representing their hometown club. I just think it's a sign of the growth that we've made as a club. And, we know we've got plenty more work to do. And that's what keeps me driving forward and motivated to keep making strides to this great club. And but it's been incredibly rewarding and a really interesting role. And that's something that I take a lot of pride in, and look forward to the future ahead.
You led me in almost perfectly. Well, I see producer Andy, so go ahead, producer Andy.
Yeah, sorry to bust in there, but Pete, you mentioned the people wearing merch. I just want to say real briefly, I got one of those new golf shirts for Father's Day that the team wore for the golf fundraiser or foundation thing, whatever it was. I'm not going to pretend I know what it is because I don't play golf. But I get a lot of compliments on it at work and just walking around, and at the game I wore it on Saturday and everyone thought it looked great. So I know that's not really your side of the team, business ops really, but the more like casual wear I can wear to work. I just need a few more shirts and I can wear an OC shirt every day to work, and that would be great.
Yeah, no, there you go. I won't give Dan too much credit, but Dan and Megan have done a fantastic job on the merchandise, and it's great to see people representing the club in and around the community. Just shows how far we've come. So great to hear you getting some compliments at work.
Pete, back to your side maybe of the club. A question from DK: who are some young players that you see with the potential to become first team starters in the near future?
Yeah, no, great question. I think that's the exciting part of what we're trying to do is to try and blend that kind of senior team and young prospects and young players. And I think you saw a glimpse of that on Saturday night. Obviously Pedro Guramaish has been doing a fantastic job and has obviously been playing away with the youth national team. And I think he's a player with a big future ahead of him. And we look forward to seeing his debut, his future in the club. So he's continuing to improve. And then, we have some other players that maybe you guys aren't as familiar with who debuted at the weekend. Nicolas Ciotta at right back. I thought he did a fantastic job, but he's been doing a really, really good job in the academy this year. So he's one that we're excited about. And then one that's been added to the group recently is Jake Kone, who's another young, exciting forward that we've added to the group. Ben Bargiolo. So we've got some good young attacking players, and obviously Gavin Karam got his kind of first full taste of minutes at the weekend. So those are some of the players that maybe you guys have not seen as much of yet, but again, we see them on a daily basis that we're really excited about. And we're always looking to bring in new young talent, and I'm sure there'll be some more faces in the coming months of young players that we're trying to add to the group. But we'll see where that goes. But we're excited for the young players and feel we've got a really good young pipeline of players coming through the system at the moment.
All right, Pete, one final one for you. Or it's really two questions. What do you see as this current squad's biggest strength? What's the biggest weakness? And what do they need to do to keep the momentum going so we can have a second photo behind you?
Yeah, well, it's I think the one thing you always need to win a title is a little bit of luck, and I think that sometimes people forget that part. You look at our run through the playoffs. There was a little bit of luck here and there along the way, and I think you look at Phoenix Rising when they won the title. You need a little bit of luck in the PK shootout. So hopefully a little bit of luck falls our way. But I think we've got the team and the qualities to put a run together and put ourselves in the question. And I think once you enter into the playoffs, really it's anyone's game. And a lot of the time it's whoever's in form is the team that people don't want to face. And I think we saw that last year. I think we were very close to going all the way, maybe a couple of minutes away from pushing the team to penalties. against Colorado. And, once we got through Colorado, we knew it was going to be a tough game, and ultimately felt very confident we could beat anyone in it last year. So, we're looking to build on that momentum and try and put that run together towards the back end of this season now. The one thing we usually do is time it well for the back end of the year. So that's where it counts. And ultimately we're looking to continue that. But I think, we've got a lot of strengths through the team. I think if you look at the group, we've got good depth, and maybe we've not had in previous years. So I think we've got good depth in this group, and there's a lot of competition for places, and players like Stephen Kelly, who's just joined the club, or complementing an already pretty strong midfield. So I think we've got some really good, strong players in the group, and they're going to push each other. And I think weaknesses. I don't think there's any overbearing weaknesses that we have in the group. We need to tighten up on taking chances and obviously keeping clean sheets, and that's what we want to try and do. And the old saying is, defense win titles is something that we've kind of carried at OC throughout the years. So we'll be looking to definitely increase our number of clean sheets. I know it's the back four have been really striving to put that on the board, and we're delighted to get their first clean sheet the other week in El Paso, and then backed it up with another one. So that's something that we're going to look to continue to build, and just ultimately being hard to beat, and being competitive, because we know in this league, anyone can beat anyone, and we back ourselves on any given day.
Ray, over to you, my friend.
Yeah, Pete, I typically jump on here and ask like some weird random questions, and that's why I think Dylan was talking with that tone of voice. But with your discussion that you were having with Dylan, it actually opened up my mind. I wanted to ask you this question. Obviously, we probably could do a full hour-long show with this question I'm going to ask you, and I don't want you to divulge any secrets, but you mentioned bringing on someone like Stephen Kelly. You mentioned selling players out to Europe. Can you just give us a high-level overview of what that is like how that whole process works, what your role is in all of that, and how do you get the best deal for Orange County, either the most money on a sale or the lowest price on an incoming potential option?
Yep, no, it's definitely a question I could probably go on for a couple of hours, and give you the full breakdown. But it's a unique job, and it's a unique challenge. And I think when we're looking at incoming players, there's a lot of different things that we look at in terms of recruiting players. Obviously that always starts with looking at game footage. We have a software called Y Scout, which is a fantastic software which allows us to basically watch any player in the world at any given day, and literally you can look at any player's clips at a click of a button. So it's completely revolutionized the way we scout. When I first started, back in England and working at Blackburn, we used to have the DVDs being sent in, and we'd have to load up the DVD player and start watching a player's clips. So it's completely changed the way we recruit and scout, and obviously brought the world together and made it a much smaller place, and opened up a lot more markets. So a lot of that, we work with a number of different agents that present players on a daily basis, and from there we're always creating databases and tracking players, and whether that's domestic players that we're more familiar of and we see on a day in day out basis, or international players like Stephen Kelly. We'll go and review the footage, and then from there there's a lot of work in terms of, once we've decided we like what we see on the footage, it's about connecting with a lot of different people that we know in the area, who may get a character reference from, a coaching reference from. So there's a lot of groundwork that goes into each player, that we're making sure that there's due diligence is going in, and it's a very thorough process to make sure that we're minimizing our risk the best we can, that we know the product that we're bringing in. And there's no guarantees with scouting and signing players, but you try to minimize the risk that the player won't work out for whatever reason, and hope that they'll fit into our system and our structure, and thrive from there. And that's kind of the top level view of how we recruit players. And then in terms of outgoing players, when we're looking to try and transfer players to Europe, it's a very complex process, and there's a lot of different elements that go into making a deal work. You have a OC, the selling team, you have the player's agent, you have the player himself, you have the player's representatives, and you have the buying team. So you have basically 5 individual parties that all need to become in agreement to make a transfer happen, and that can be a process that takes a long time. And it's about trying to find a common ground on all those parties to try and align to make sense for OC and ultimately the player and ultimately the buying club. So with that, then you're trying to find that happy balance to make a deal, and then ultimately it's about finding the best value for OC and the right decision for the club, and that's a process that we've fine-tuned over the past few years. But you understand the market and kind of where a player's value is at, and you strive to obviously bring in the most you can for the club, and ultimately hope the transfer goes through. But it's not always a straightforward process, and there's plenty of things that go into it. But fortunately, we've managed to conclude a number of different transfers to Europe, and hopefully we'll continue to keep doing that.
Pete, it's funny that you talk about this because I'm about to help you out with some scouting for next year. There's a player out there, young man is named Grayson Duty, and I think he would be a great fit at probably, I don't know, like right back next year for the team. So if you can maybe watch some tape on him and put him in a number 2 jersey and playing in the number 2, I think there'd be a lot of people, me in particular, who would be very happy about that.
Yeah, we'll see if we can make that happen. I've got a good feeling we can probably get that done.
That would be great. Well, see, you might want to consider hiring me as a scout now, because obviously I'm on top of stuff.
Absolutely, we need all the help we can get, so we'll take it, Larry.
Beautiful.
I will give you the reference right now for Larry P, and that would be a hard no, just to let you know. Just don't hire him in that role. P, any message for the fans as we're heading close to here? I don't know if we're officially at that second half of the part of the season now, but we're right about that point. What message do you have the fans that are watching this team, supporting this team, or maybe on the fence of becoming full-fledged supporters of Orange County?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, one thing that's been tremendous to see is the growth of the county line behind the goal through my years. I mean, it's been growing steadily, and you see that on Saturday night. Those are the special moments, that I don't think there's anything you can replicate in a last minute winner in front of your home fans. That feeling, that emotion. So anybody who's on the fence, I think take a look at those clips, and I think you'll definitely be a fan moving forward. But just continue supporting the club as you always do. I think this is a very unique club, and I think the fans understand that we're a development club. You're trying to find that balance between winning, incorporating young players, and ultimately fighting for championships. And I think the fans always understand that's what we're trying to do as a club, and continue to believe in us. And I think even if when we're having tough moments, continue that belief. And I think last season is a perfect example to highlight keeping the faith. There was maybe periods in last season where people were unsure that we were going to continue in the right direction and maybe tail off towards the end. But we continued that belief and knew that we had a good group together, that we could put a run together. And I think last season the fans stuck with us, and we went on to have a tremendous end to the season, and we're looking to hopefully go one better this year. And always going to be bumps in the road, but we always will push as hard as we can to ultimately try and bring home another title. That's my objective here at the club. I want to do that with the fans. So continue supporting us like you always do, and we'll always fight as hard as we can on and off the pitch for you.
We appreciate that, Pete. Once again, everyone, the general manager, president of soccer operations for your Orange County Soccer Club, Pete Nugent. Pete, as always, thank you for joining us, and we look forward to talking to you again in the near future.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. I'll see you at the games.
See you, Pete.
Awesome. I love that Pete mentions that this team is trying to balance winning soccer, developing players, and for those unaware, that's not an easy balance to make. I mean, it takes a lot. It's walking a tightrope when you're trying to develop young players, give opportunities to young players, but also try and continue a winning mentality and lifting the cup like we did in 2021. So I'm hoping we continue with that. I love seeing the young players. It'll be great one day when we all get to see someone in the Premier League or see someone in one of the top leagues in Europe that used to play for Orange County Soccer Club and say, hey, I watched that player when they were just getting started. And it's a really neat thought that one day that potentially can happen.
And really, nobody over the last 5-6 years has anybody in the USL Championship done it better than Orange County Soccer Club. Top of my head, I can't think of anybody having success. I mean, let's forget about 2022. That was a nightmare. But outside of that, the team wins. The team goes to the playoffs. We've made a couple of deep runs the last couple of years, and we're selling players on. We're giving those kids are getting the opportunities to go to the bigger clubs, Milan, go over to Europe, and then come back to MLS and just destroy it. It's nobody's better than we are at that. End of story.
No, and I mean, you can even look at players like Ronaldo Damas. You can look at players like Kobe Henry. There's some success stories. Huh?
I said, Dylan.
Dylan.
He made a comment in our chat.
We even managed to sell on Albie Skendi into retirement. So, no matter where your goals lie, Orange County will get you there.
Before we start wrapping things up, I want to just ask if any of you have any last things you wanted to talk about before we start wrapping things up. Brad, do you have anything?
Honestly, I think Larry said it very eloquently there. The team has been spoiled over the last couple of years, 2022 aside. Even then, we still sold a player by the name of Kobe Henry for a at the then time record. And people like Pete really make that happen for the longevity of the club, because we don't have margins that other teams in the world have. We don't have, super wealthy financial backers in oil, but the team is one of those better clubs in North America at doing what we do, selling on players, making a profit.
Yeah,
Williams is doing pretty good in real estate, though, honestly.
Yeah, but he doesn't have Diplo money. So, I mean, just got to think of it that way, right? He doesn't have Diplo money. Dylan, you have any thoughts before we wrap things up?
I do. It's July 1st, and those of you that have been around for a while probably noticed that this year we didn't do a Playing for Pride competition.
Boo.
And we didn't. You're right. That didn't happen. And I don't really have a reason for why we didn't. So nobody panic, please. Nobody can be confused. While we didn't play our fun little draft game, while I certainly didn't lose, still happy to be donating. And instead of donating to Athlete Ally this year, not that their mission is not important, I'll be keeping the money a little bit more locally, and I'll be donating to the LGBTQ Center of Orange County. Queer people are obviously not the only group that are currently targeted or subjugated by policy and social changes. So I'll also be donating some money to the Orange County Rapid Response Network. We have a very vibrant and diverse community in Orange County, and it's one of my favorite things about Orange County was just how different it was. No disrespect to Ray's Elisa Viejo. I'm not talking about you, bud. Seriously, it made me into who I am today, and I can't imagine a better place to grow up in a more diverse area.
Come back.
I'm excited. Yeah, buddy. I'm excited for Pride Night on July 30th, and while it's typically not in the typical month that we think of for Pride, I think this is nice, and it's an important little reminder. Queer people always exist, not just in the month of June.
And now Dylan is trying to make enemies with Aliso Viejo residents with his comments on the show. Apparently, you didn't see the turnout here on June 14th on the streets of Aliso Viejo, but I won't get into that too much.
I'm not saying you're all conservatives. I'm just saying it's not the most diverse part of Orange County.
Let's jump into our what did we learn this episode? And I'm going to go first. I learned that if I just keep harassing Brad, he will bow down and make the prediction that I'm telling him to make. So thank you, Brad. Larry, what did you learn this episode?
I learned that producer Andy has jokes and sound effects.
Brad, what did you learn?
I learned that Larry is a mind reader, and that producer. I learned I don't get to speak today.
Well, you're muted half
Go
the
ahead.
time anyway.
Do it again, Andy.
Go ahead, Brad. What was your comment? What was your thing?
Sorry,
Oh,
Brad.
I was just. Oh,
I
it's all good.
apologize.
I was gonna say Larry stole the words out of my mouth. I too was absolutely amazed that you have sound effects now.
To be honest, I'd been telling Andy over the last few months that it'd be really cool to have these sound effects for when he wants to jump on. And he did it. I appreciate that, Andy, for listening to some suggestions. Dylan, what did you learn? Wait, really quick, Dylan, before we go, we still need to get the correct version of that. We need to get the version of the guy from Superstore doing the sound effect and get the recording of him doing it and have that play there. That would be better. Dylan, go for it.
You can donate to the Orange Black Soccer Cast Legal Fund after we get sued by NBC Universal at our Venmo. I learned that I think Larry's taken a few too many foul balls or fastballs off of his face because, he was all over. He had a Ray-esque performance tonight, and I was not prepared for that.
The funny thing is, I heard Dylan say, when he said it at first, I heard foul vowels. So I was confused where he was going with that. With that said, it's time to wrap things up. I do want to thank everyone that participated in our episode tonight, including all of our viewers that were watching live on either YouTube, Instagram, or Facebook. Remember to follow us, like us, subscribe to us wherever you find us so you know when we go live or when to know when we release new episodes in podcast form, or to see the wonderful content that Larry puts out on Instagram, producer Andy puts out on other socials, know when we have articles up available for you to read on our website, OCSC.com. So just, again, wherever you want to find us, whether it's on social media, podcast, YouTube, like, subscribe, share what we have. It gets our message out there to more people, and it makes those sites like to show our stuff off more, I guess. I guess that's how that works. I also want to thank Dylan, Brad, Larry, and producer Andy in the background for everything they did on this episode. Our guest, Pete Nugent, president of soccer operations for Orange County Soccer Club. With that said, this is the Orange and Black Soccer Cast. We are out.